What's up guys, this is Raymond and today I'm going to show you how to install wheel studs on your E-chassis BMW. Let's go over everything you're going to need to do a stud conversion. I bought the Motorsport Hardware stud conversion. You can buy these on bavautoparts.com. I'll link it in the description. I've been running these on my E90 for the last 5 or so years. I've got the 90 mils on here with the Titan nuts. And generally it's recommended to replace them every 1 to 2 years. I don't know why I haven't yet, just haven't gotten around to it. So finally doing that, I actually bought some shorter ones since I'm not using such big spacers anymore. And I got these short nuts too, just to change up the look a bit. But yeah, Motorsport Hardware. And then if you have a 1/2 inch impact, it'll make this a lot easier. 17 mil deep socket. It's nice to have one with a plastic casing to protect your wheels. 5 mil Allen socket. I've got a 3/8 one, and this is going to be used for tightening and loosening these wheel studs. So that's one thing I really like about these is you don't have to use a double nut method, which takes a lot of time. You can actually just stick the Allen key in there. Basics: 3/8 ratchet, 3/8 torque wrench, 1/2 inch torque wrench for your wheels. If you have like a nice snap-on torque wrench, it might be a 1/2 inch that can go down to what my cheapo 3/8 can go down to. So yeah, whatever you have access to. And then I've got this thread restore set I rented from AutoZone. It was 110 bucks to rent it, but they get you your money back as soon as you bring it back, so it's free. And the reason you want this is because it comes with this M12 thread chase, and this is what you're going to use to clean out the threads in your wheel hub so that these new studs go in there nicely and the Loctite, sets them in place. You don't want any debris or dirt or anything in between your new studs and the hub. So you absolutely want to thread chase all of those holes and clean them out with brake fluid so that those are completely secure. Anytime you're jacking up your car, you always want to put a wheel chock behind the wheel that's gonna still be on the ground, and that'll prevent the car from rolling back for whatever reason. So always be safe when you jack your car up. Put on your wheel chock and always use jack stands. First thing we're gonna need to do is get all 4 wheels jacked up off the ground. I like to leave these to dry overnight. You can check the directions on whatever Loctite you're using. Motorsport Hardware recommends blue Loctite. And I just like to let that dry and set without mounting the wheels. I like to leave it overnight. So make sure you set up everything safe and stable with jack stands to make sure that this car can sit for at least a few hours to let that Loctite set with no wheels in the car. So I'm gonna go ahead and jack up the front of this car, and if you're low you might have to jack up from the side a little bit first to get under this front jack point. And I really like this front jack point because it gets both front wheels off the ground. And so we're just going to jack this up here, and once you've got that high enough, you're just going to slip a jack stand under your jack pad. You want one on the front and on the rear. Now I'm just going to lower this jack slowly onto that jack stand. Now that we've got all 4 wheels off the ground, we're going to go ahead and start popping off these wheels here. So I want you guys to pay attention to this. You see how the nuts are no longer on the wheel, but the wheel is still sitting here on the hub nicely. From the factory, it will not do this. It'll, immediately come off because the only thing holding the wheel to the hub is the lug bolts that go through it. So this makes changing wheels way easier. It's just sitting on here versus when you have the, and I'm sure you guys have all done this before, when you don't have a stud conversion and you've got your foot on the bottom here and you're just trying to balance it, especially if you got a wheel spacer and then really long extended lug bolts, you're just trying to get these holes to line up with the hub and balancing with your foot, and it sucks. So one of my favorite mods, especially if you take your tires on and off for you know, going to the track or going from summer to winter tires, what have you. It's totally worth it for that alone. So you can see here I already have the 90 mil studs installed. You obviously won't have that on yours, you'll just have these empty hub holes. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop these out and then we'll get started from where you guys will start. A nice little trick when you're installing or removing these is you can stick a screwdriver in the vanes. That one's too big. You can stick a screwdriver in the vanes of your rotor and you can kind of use that to brace against your caliper, and that way the rotor won't spin when you're tightening or loosening these lug studs. Wow, 5 years later and these are still on there really, really good. Well, I think I goofed when I installed these by using red Loctite instead of blue. I honestly can't remember, but these are on here pretty good, so I'm gonna try blasting a little bit with this impact. Well, I can't get those off with the impact, and I broke my little Harbor Freight bit trying to get that out. I'm almost positive I used red Loctite for some reason, which you're not supposed to do. So we're gonna stop the video here for now. I'm gonna need to buy a torch to heat up these studs so that I can remove them. Okay, so slightly goofed on this. You are not supposed to use the Allen key to remove these, only for installation. I just emailed the owner of Motorsport Hardware and he told me if you try to use this to remove them, it'll just strip. Didn't know that because I've never had to remove them before, so definitely good to know. He said that I need to use the double nut method to remove these. So what the double nut method is I put this first nut here, put a second nut, and then I tighten that second nut on the first, and then I use that inner nut to, where's my wrench? Okay, so I use this inner, wrong wrench. Okay, so we use this inner nut to loosen the lug stud. And yeah, that's working a million times better than what I was trying to do with the hex key. And those are still on there, pretty good, but I definitely didn't use red Loctite because this would not be coming loose at all if I did. 5 years, guys, and they're still on here this good. It's pretty wild. Well, I'm definitely not worried about these backing out. That was, and they're pretty good for many years. Okay, now we got those two nuts off of that first stud, and I'm going to repeat that for all of these studs. So you may not need this information now, since most of you probably don't already have a stud conversion if you're watching this video, but when it's time to replace them, you'll have this to reference and not make the same mistake that I did. You know what? I think I'm actually going to heat these up a bit to make it a little bit easier. Let's see how that does. That is a bit easier, but that Loctite is definitely Loctiting. If I could just... Okay, now we're cooking. Okay, this is much easier. I think we're gonna break this nut loose before I take the stud all the way off. Maybe not. Okay, I think we've got this down to a science now here. So I still need to break it loose with this inner nut, but then we can switch to that outer one for some ratchet action. Okay, we're torching this guy too. I just moved my washing machine and dryer today and got those all set up, and I already screwed up my back, so this is not feeling super great. Let's see if we can get a better angle on this. It is a nice biceps and lats workout. So what I'm doing after I do each one of these is I'm taking this stud and I'm putting the wrench on that internet and then stepping on it. There we go. Okay. Just need a little impact action. Okay, finally. Okay, so now I'm where 99% of you guys will be starting with preparing your hubs for the wheel studs. So the main thing we're concerned about is making sure the threads in the hubs are super clean as they can be. So I'm gonna hit it with brake clean first, and then I'm gonna follow it with the AutoZone thread chaser. Wear safety glasses if you use brake fluid. Okay, and this particular thread chase is a 13mm on the back. Be very careful not to cross thread it. And we're gonna move our screwdriver from the bottom to the top of that caliper. I know I said calculator. We're not re-threading this or anything. This is just cleaning them up. One done. Yeah, there's a good bit of gunk in there. So maybe clean this off after each one you do to keep it as clean as possible. Yeah, so that went in much smoother after cleaning it up. And you can kind of see there's a good amount of gunk that it's catching. Always wear safety glasses if you're spraying brake cleaner. Okay, so we've got all those threads chased. I'm gonna take a little bit of a closer look in there, make sure you don't have any more gunk. And they all look clean, so what I'm gonna do is hit it with the brake clean again. Always wear safety glasses. Okay, yeah, that looks nice. Now it's probably not a bad idea to hit it with some air compressor action too, just to get any dust out. All right, now we're gonna follow the Motorsport Hardware instructions to a T. Clean wheel hubs with pipe cleaner and solvent, check. And now we're gonna install the stud into the hub with medium or blue thread locker and torque to spec. The spec on these black race studs is 25 foot-pounds. So what I'm gonna do is take these new studs and I'm just gonna brake clean the bottom just in case there's any oil or grease on them, so that we wanna make sure this Loctite sets properly. Once that brake cleaner evaporates, I'm just gonna put one line of blue Loctite down the threads, just like that. And I'm gonna go ahead and thread it onto the wheel hub. And now we can actually use these Allen keys at the end of these studs here to save us a ton of time. A lot of these other stud conversion kits have just a rounded edge or a flat edge here, or flat tip rather. And so you do have to do the double net method on each and every one 20 times. So this hex saves a buttload of time. We're gonna get the torque wrench and set it to 25 foot-pounds. And that's it, we've installed a wheel stud, and now I just need to do that 5 more times. I know this probably seems like a lot of work, but trust me, the payoff is so worth it. With every time you put a wheel on or take it off, it's just so much less of a headache. And notice how I'm not using a impact on any of these for installing and removing. It's definitely recommended just to use plain old hand tools for this. Make sure that you're not cross-threading or damaging these hubs, because it'd be a pain in the butt if you had to rethread these or pull the hub if you damage them. As you can see, it's way easier to install these than take them out, which is definitely a good thing. You don't want something like this coming out easily. And that's it. We've got a full set of wheel studs installed here. I'll get you guys a closer look. Check that out. So these are the 78mm studs, and these are good for up to, I can't remember, I think it was a 20mm spacer, but I only run a 10mm spacer up front here, so that's plenty. Oh, I also wanted to show you guys the Motorsport Hardware spacer, which this is like a really nice CNC aluminum part, and the tolerances are great. Like, it sticks to this wheel when I pull the wheel off because the tolerances are so good, which is important because I had another set of spacers. I was running these generic spacers on the right here, which aren't even that much cheaper than these good ones, so I'd recommend just getting the Motorsport Hardware, also bevautoparts.com. And the hub here is just machined, not amazingly. Like, it fits in here, but it's loose. And any play here can transfer vibrations or screw up the balance of your wheel while you're driving. So for example, I had these up front and my steering wheel was shaking above like 60 miles an hour because there's that up and down play. And so I'll show you too on the wheel hub here. See that play back and forth? No bueno. Take the Motorsports Hardware one. Look at that. Nothing. So definitely recommend, if you're gonna put spacers on, get ones that fit properly. These are actually lighter too. I weighed both of them, so you'll be super fast if you get those spacers instead of the generic cheap ones. I'm just gonna let this sit overnight now to be extra safe. Like I said, anytime I use Loctite and stuff, it's probably unnecessary, but I like to just let it sit overnight. I'm going to bed soon anyway, so it's not like I need to drive somewhere. So install this stuff, Loctite it, and let it dry. Slap the wheels on in the morning when I'm ready to go. So now you guys know how to install wheel studs on your E-chassis BMW. I'm going to do the other 3 wheels tonight. I'm not going to film that. I mean, it's the same process over and over again. And then I'll pull out the camera again tomorrow and I'll show you guys how it looks with the wheel mounted and the nuts bolted down onto it. A couple things I wanted to mention and reiterate here. Some important points if you're deciding to install wheel studs on your BMW. The first being, you should no longer use, not that you should anyways, but you shouldn't use a impact gun to torque the crap out of your tighten it by hand. I use an impact, but I do it very lightly just until it seats, and then I pull out the torque wrench and I torque it to 90 foot-pounds, and that's the recommendation that Motorsport Hardware gives, and this is their hardware. So I follow that to a T. I mentioned this before, but with heavy track use, people usually recommend to replace these every year, every race season. For street use, I've seen other people say every 2 years. Personally, obviously I ran these for way too long. I had them on for 5 years, but I didn't have any issues, but I wouldn't do it again. I think from now on, I'll probably do this every 2 years, get these replaced just to be extra safe. No point risking safety over $100 or whatever every few years. So that about wraps it up. Pretty straightforward install. If you don't have to spend some time screwing around like I did, not knowing how to remove the existing studs and not taking the time to Google that. So definitely not too bad once you know what you're doing. Install is super straightforward and easy, and it definitely pays off. All right guys, it's now tomorrow. I let this dry overnight, and now I'm gonna put these wheels and tires back on and we'll see how it looks. It specifically states in the Motorsport Hardware instructions not to use an impact gun. So I'm gonna use an impact gun, but I'm gonna not torque them super tight. I'm just gonna use the torque gun to get those nuts down and seated. Then I'll use a torque wrench for the final. And as you can see, I'm not even going full blast with this torque gun. I'm just holding the trigger slightly down to thread these nuts. And this is how it's gonna look with the nuts seated and the wheel installed. And that's it. That's how you install wheel studs on your BMW. One important thing I forgot to mention is that some tire shops won't take your wheels on and off if you have wheel studs. I've never run into this issue in the 5-ish years I've had wheel studs. I've gone to discount tire, random tire shops, had my tires mounted, flats repaired, stuff like that. Never had an issue, but something to be aware of. Your choices may be more limited on what shops will work on your car in regards to your wheels coming on and off, so keep that in mind. Other than that, I think that covers everything. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Let me know in the comments what other videos you guys would like to see, and thank you for watching.